Hello and welcome to the National Family Legacy Podcast. We're so happy that you're tuning in today. My name is Andy. I am the host of this podcast. And today I had the awesome opportunity of sitting down with Father Ceja, who is a Catholic priest here in San Bernardino, California. He is assisting with St. Louis Church in Cathedral City, and he's also one of the founders of an incredible organization called Soul Center, who helps those who are going through crisis and those who are experiencing some kind of suffering in their life. And today's conversation was so awesome, and we're so happy and excited for you to hear it.
Welcome to the National Family Legacy Podcast, where we explore uplifting narratives from organizations making a positive impact in our world. To connect with us or explore further, visit our website at nationalfamilylegacy.org. We're thrilled that you've joined us for today's episode.
Father Ceja, welcome to the National Family Legacy Podcast. How are you today?
I'm very well. It's nice to be here with you, Andy.
Thank you for being here. We really appreciate your time. We are excited to talk to you about your ministry and about Soul Center. I'm very familiar with who you are, but for those who don't know you yet, could you give us a little bit of your history, your bio? Who are you? How did you become a priest? And we will get into Soul Center a little bit later.
Of course, it's been a journey throughout my life. Since I was a child, I remember at least my older brothers tell me that I used to be a little different than the normal kids. Instead of playing with toys and guns, I used to play celebrating the Mass. So it was something very unique about that, and my family thought. And as I was going through elementary school, I wanted to be a priest. There was a priest in my life that was very, he impacted my life and how he lived his life in charity. And so I wanted to be a priest. But then when I was a teenager, that thought kind of fade away. And but I went to a retreat weekend, a Cursillo weekend we call it. And my life was touched very deeply. I really had a personal and powerful experience with Jesus Christ. And my life was not the same ever since. And when I left that retreat, I knew that God was calling me for a particular reason. But now the problem was to find out exactly what that was. So I remember spending a lot of time in prayer, discerning, and asking God literally, what did you want from me? Because there was a sense of burning inside me. They would not leave me alone. I was dating a beautiful girl then. She had just graduated from UCLA. And we had plans for our future. But then there was something inside me that was not in place. So I volunteered with the Jesuits as a lay missionary in El Salvador. And I spent some time there. They were very traumatic years during the Civil War. And I was only 19 years of age. When I came back, I said, okay, God, to my conscience, I'm going to go into the seminary not to be a priest, but to prove to you that that's not for me. I don't want to be a priest. So it took quite a few years in discernment to realize that, yes, God created me for that. And I went into a crisis back in 1986 during the AIDS epidemic. I was one of the founders of Shanti Project, or one of the volunteers with Shanti Projects, attending the needs of the sick with AIDS. And I was very fearful because we didn't have as much information as we do now regarding the illness. And but God used that time in order to speak to me. And then I realized that, like St. Augustine, in his book that he wrote that really resembles a lot of my experiences, he was praying, and there's a chapter that is titled The Conflicting of the Wills. He was praying to God saying, when I will to follow you, oh God, it was I who willed to follow you, but also I who willed not to follow you. But since I never decided completely nor rejected you completely, I fought with myself and tore myself in pieces.
Wow.
And that was a very painful moment, but that was a liberating moment. It was then that I said, okay, God, do what you want with me.
Wow.
And I've dedicated my life to be a priest for 35 years. And I've been in 15 different parishes serving different ministries, prison ministries, youth ministry, and working with the poor and the downtrodden in certain areas of the diocese. I'm a diocesan priest, by the way. I belong to the Diocese of San Bernardino. But then I took some time to do a few years to do ministry with indigenous communities in Chiapas and other ministries. They brought a lot of fulfillment and really enhanced my faith a great deal. And my life can never be the same after those experiences. But as time goes by and I continue to discern every day in prayer, what did you want of me, my Lord? I'm not as young as I used to be. So I have to use the resources and also the limitations of my health to be as productive as possible. So in the process of discernment, I met another priest who was co-directing at the center, Soul Center, with me. And we, all of a sudden, we came up with the fact that I was reminded that one of the theologians in the seminary will say, to be a good priest, what good servant of God, you need to have the Bible in one hand and the newspaper in the other one. Now it's certainly the computer and technology and social media and all that. But by saying that, we realized that there's so many problems in the world and we can only do so much. So we asked God, what can we do? And we realized that two things keep coming back to us, was that we live in a world that is addicted to alcohol and drugs. And as a result of that, there's a lot of broken families. A lot of pain as a result of that. And secondly, we're enduring one of the most painful crises in mental health. Almost every family has a teenager or someone in the family that is dealing with issues of anxiety and depression and everything else, suicide. And I've celebrated quite a few funerals, and to see the pain in the families when someone, that has a whole life in front of them, a huge and bright future, ends up in a suicide out of desperation and pain. So we thought that the best thing would be to create a center. And so we kind of delved into finding a place, not only a physical place, but also a name for it. And we found a beautiful place, 18 acres in Cherry Valley, California. That belongs to a friend of mine who's very generous. And he's very happy to help us. And we found the name Soul Center, S-O-L, which means service of love. And as a result of that, we began investigating in what programs, conferences, or different things that we can use as resources to help these two groups of people. And we have actually a total of 12 different programs running in our place.
Wow.
Now, what we took from society and also from universities and other institutions, in a way, we brought spirituality into them, because some of them are secular, but they're very effective when it comes to processes and dynamics in helping people that are having mental issues, and through psychological dynamics, but we bring God into it.
Right.
So that's, as a result of that, it's been very effective.
That's amazing.
So we've done retreats almost an average of 3 weekends a month. And we have had hundreds of adults, teenagers, young adults, and we've seen lives transformed. We've seen marriages and families being trying to think of the right word, but God is doing a great job in creating a new way of life for them. And we've seen, and we have so many testimonies in our place.
That's amazing. Yeah, I've enjoyed hearing, because we've spoken before more about what Soul Center does, but it sounds like Soul Center is not. You guys know that there is a lot of brokenness in the world, that there are people that are hurting. And what I appreciate is that you guys take on the conversation of mental health and anxiety, where in some spiritual spaces, sometimes that's not as much of an emphasis or a center point. But what I admire about Soul Center is that you guys have these programs or courses that people can come in and take and learn how to become healthier and go through restoration. Now, what does it look like for someone to come to Soul Center? Someone who is going through some kind of hardship or some kind of suffering in their life. When they come to Soul Center, what does it look like for them there at your facility?
We've seen it. It's always interesting to see how they come into the center and to see their faces and to see depression that is quite obvious and evident. And we've seen after spending an entire weekend to see a light that comes out of their eyes and to see a smile in their faces. It usually is through someone else or someone in the family that are so involved in finding help with a sense of desperation for their families, either because they're on drugs or alcohol or because they have no other venues. In the schools, for instance, a couple of weeks ago, they brought a 12-year-old boy, and when I asked him, what's wrong with you? Why are you here? And it broke my heart to hear a teenager in the beginning of their life saying, I have no purpose in life. And I feel so sad. Yeah. And because of that, I feel encouraged to do things. Right. And I always tell people when I preach, said, God does not like you to see you sick, angry, or sad. Wow. So in a way, he uses people like us as instruments to bring a little joy, healing, restoration to your life. So that's basically what we do. But to see the transformation when they come in, and at the end of the weekend, just one weekend, to see the results, it's amazing. Being in psychotherapy for many years, having a master's in psychology, I mean, it takes you months or years to see any really change in people's lives. But what's happening there is impacting people's lives in a short term. In just a weekend, and to see their lives being turned around and to see them joyful again. Yeah, I
love that image of God that you paint, of a God that doesn't like to see his children sad or hurting.
Of course not.
Which I think is such an important thing as someone who's going through pain, to know, wait a minute, God is with me in this, and he wants something else for me. He wants me to experience his joy, his restoration.
I mean, he said it to Jesus, I came to give you life and life to the fullest. Exactly. And that's what we believe. And if we can do anything on our part to make that evident in people's lives, that's the whole purpose of it.
That's amazing. Now, are there any stories that come to mind of people who have gone through Soul Center? Any testimonies or any stories that you can share with us?
This past weekend, a nephew of mine went through the weekend after almost being after him for 3 years to attend, because his father is an alcoholic, and my sister is really having a hard time with him. He's 21 years of age, and he's gone through a lot. He's a good kid, and but he was always very angry at life and also very sad. but he went through we call them básico. It's a basic course where you're given tools so that you can go out in life and live it to the fullest. And he came out just totally transformed.
Wow.
And to see that in him and hundreds of others that gone through the process is really fulfilling.
Wow.
I have nothing but a profound sense of gratitude to God for giving us the opportunity to impact people's lives.
That's amazing.
But also was sharing with you last time Lupillo's life. Lupillo was involved in meth for almost 20 years. It's gotten to the point that he lost everything: family, house, work, and he found himself in a house with graffiti all over the place, and the Santa Muerte drawn on the walls, and no electricity. But God used one of his co-workers to tell him about Soul Center. He went through a weekend with us, and he was telling us, he says, and he even showed us at the end of the retreat. He took us to the garage. He had gone to Home Depot before that weekend, and saying, "This is my last resource. If I don't find anything in it, I'm gonna come and hang myself on that rope." He even said that he took a small course on how to tie that on the ceiling of the garage. And so I was very much impacted. You see him now. He was able to find a job. He's made a connection again with his family, and he's a very happy man now. He's one of our volunteers there. He's always sharing his testimony.
So
what life is doing in his life is it's just incredible.
I love that. You know, I love so much that what a life with Jesus looks like is a life of restoration, of finding peace and joy. And it doesn't mean life is easy or it gets even like necessarily. I mean, life gets better, but not in the way that you would think. It's not like all of a sudden there's no issues or no problems, but you have this new lifeline, this new perspective in life.
You and I know that once you establish a very personal and profound relationship with Jesus Christ, your life will be much easier. Because nothing else can bring fulfillment to your life as Jesus does.
Right.
And if we can bring that to people through their own personal experience and retreats, through psychological processes or anything, preaching, and it really touches people's lives forever.
That's amazing.
They realize all of a sudden that nothing else was able to bring joy. We have someone who has a lot of money. He says, "I tried almost everything in life and nothing brought fulfillment as I'm experiencing it now."
Wow.
Because I realized, I used to go to Mass, he says, and I quote him, but for one reason, and I was doing it out of tradition. But now that I have a personal relationship with God, it's totally different.
That's amazing.
And of course, we know that.
I love that. You know, I a couple of weeks ago, I had the opportunity to share at a church, to go and preach at a church, and I was reading out of the story of Zacchaeus, and this man who has all this money and is making money off of other people, hurting others and gaining, and has this one experience with Jesus, and as a result chooses to give everything away.
Right.
You know, what I found compelling was, if you go one chapter before that, you get the story of the rich young ruler who had everything, but when he encountered Jesus, he wasn't willing to give everything away. And it's just this picture of like, man, a real encounter with Jesus, when you realize he is so full of grace and love, how can you not just give it away? And I think that's a good perspective for people to have too.
Of course,
in life, not to chase money.
It's interesting because we started last week a study of the Gospels in our Soul Center on Wednesdays, and we realized that the first topic per excellence in Jesus' ministry was the kingdom of God. But the second topic of importance is the dangers of money, and how he uses that and is throughout in so many different parables but in Zacchaeus, what hits me is the fact that because he was doing what he was doing, he was being an instrument of the Roman Empire, and he was actually being a fraud, to people, right. And he was stealing from his own people. But then, so he was hated. So you can have all the money in the world, but if you know that you're hated by everyone around you, but then he sees Jesus and he sees him with love, that changes.
It changes everything. That's so good, man. I'm encouraged in this conversation, and I love that this is what faith is about: is understanding the love of God and how that transforms us and doesn't leave us where we are. Man, Soul Center is doing a lot of amazing work, and National Family Legacy loves to see organizations like Soul Center impacting people, and our hope is to help. And I'm guessing that maybe there's somebody that's listening right now and they're hearing this and they want to maybe visit Soul Center, or at the very least help out monetarily. Are there any ways in specific that you have that people can help Soul Center, bring resources? Or
well, first of all, we're very grateful to National Family Legacy, being very, very generous to us. And you can come and visit. You can come and pray with us. You can come and experience one of the weekends. You can go to Mass with us on Sundays at 4 o'clock. And we are on a tight budget. Father and I were talking on our way here. That we're paying an average of $5,000 a month for utilities and different things. And we don't have any employees. Wow. But I mean, except just one that does the landscape. So it's mostly utilities. And so running a place like that, you need money for that.
Funds, yeah.
And being a nonprofit, of course, we're not there for the money. But yet we do need help, any kind of help. Of course, prayer is very important. But if you can come or share, the bounty that God has given you with us in any amount, it would be certainly a great help.
Yeah.
But we do need it. It's a way we need not only to since we're on a tight budget, to pay the utilities every month, but we want to expand our services. We want to bring our services to parishes or to communities that are unable to physically go there. We can bring some of the benefits that we do there in maybe some communities. That's one of the things that we like to do, and also maybe expand through the social media. And so we need an expert to help us on that. And perhaps in the future we need to hire someone in order to do some of the professional work that we're doing.
Yeah.
Because we're basically now with volunteers.
Right.
We're getting volunteers from different rehab places. They have been working with drug addicts and alcoholics. But also we have some counselors from the University of Loma Linda that are helping us through Carlos Fayard, who's a doctor. And we've done some work with the spirituality and psychology. And he's volunteered. He's a very generous man with his time, and he's knowledgeable. And but in the future, if we have the means to do that, we'd like to hire someone to be there full time.
Yeah.
And perhaps other stuff. We are spending a lot of money right now going through the process to getting permits from Riverside County. And that tends to be a little expensive. Gotcha. So, thanks.
Funds,
we certainly need any help that you can provide will be greatly appreciated. Yeah,
well, we're praying that somebody is listening right now and they really want to contribute, because the work that Soul Center does is life-changing for people. I mean, I can't imagine for someone who struggles with drugs and then perhaps depression and anxiety as well, to go through a program where they're completely loved and are pushed in the right direction towards wholeness. Man, Soul Center, you guys are doing so much good work, and we're definitely praying for somebody to come in and provide resources. If somebody wants to get involved, like just to bring their time to Soul Center, how can they get involved with you guys?
You can get a hold of us through our email or visit us. You will provide the address and also our email address and our phone number. And just come and be there. It's a very sacred place. And you'll experience the spirit that is there. And you'll love it.
I love it.
And of course, we're doing a lot of great things. And perhaps in the future, we can create a video so that you can hear from the recipients themselves what they have experienced in the different retreats, so we can have a library of testimonies.
That's so good. Yeah, so people could go back and watch them. I love that. Now, before we end, I'd love to hear, do you have any encouragement for perhaps somebody who's listening and they need something like Soul Center? Do you have any encouragement to that person who may be feeling anxious or perhaps depressed or maybe struggling with some kind of addiction?
Yes, there's hope. There's hope in God and there's hope in life. And the time will come that you'll realize that God has always been with you. I always believe in the providence of God that is best interpreted in the present, because in the past we always feel abandoned by God. But to realize that God provides us with really the necessary means to find a new life is there, not only in the Bible, in the church, in nature, and even our human experiences, to find a meaning and purpose in life, to realize that I realize in general, of course, and I forgive me for being simplistic, but most cases in depression is because you are so, a person can be so preoccupied in the past. And anxiety is always being preoccupied about the future. So in the midst of that, we forget the most important thing is living the present. Wow. So one of the things that happen as you go there through any of the processes is healing the past. And by finding, the past you cannot change, but you can bring an entire different perspective to visit the past and to find healing and also to find there is a purpose for you to have gone through those experiences. It brings you to the person who you are right now. And because of that you can be also an instrument of hope and healing for others that are experiencing the same thing. I believe the best people that can bring hope to an alcoholic is an alcoholic himself.
Wow. Yeah. One of what I find so amazing is that God is just in the business of restoration. And you're so right that God uses our pain and our suffering as almost a tool later on to help other people. And what an amazing thing that you can feel hopeless, but know that there's hope. And not only is there hope, but your story can also help somebody else, which I love.
Broken healers.
Broken healers. I love that. Now, I understand that NFL gave a donation to Soul Center. Can you tell us a little bit about what that donation did there at your facility?
Oh my God, it's been such a great help. And again, thank you very much for your generous contribution. Twice, not only once, twice, $10,000. Wow. And they've been, it's amazing help in order to catch up with bills. It's one of them. We used it almost completely to pay our debt that we had with the county. We're in the process of getting some permits in order to expand and to do some things. And of course they need money for that. And so we could not have done that. And also we bought some chairs, new tables, and we bought a laptop and all that with the money you have provided.
Wow.
So National Family Legacy, may God bless you. Thank you for the great work you're doing.
Yes, of course. Well, I know that we admire so much what you guys are doing, and not only that, we believe in the work. We want to see people restored. We want to see people closer to God and their families. And so Soul Center is doing an incredible job with all that.
But it's been amazing because I've met quite a few members from National Family Legacy that came to our center. As a matter of fact, Dr. Kordinsky
Yeah.
and Frank, they attended a little bit of for program on Friday. They spent at least an hour there, and you can ask them about the experience. And I've met your mother, Leonor, and so just I can sense they're just people of God, really holy people, and I really mean it. And I was saying that it takes good people to connect with other good people. That's how God works, I guess. So thank you very much, because much of what we're doing it's dependent on the generosity of foundations like yours. Thank you very much.
Yes, well, God is good, and we're excited to see what Soul Center is doing, and I know that we want to continue to help you guys in whatever way that we can.
Oh, God bless you.
Yes, and to our listeners, thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate you for tuning in. Stay connected through all of our channels. Our website is nationalfamilylegacy.org, and you can find all of our social media accounts there. Thanks for listening.
Great job. Thank you. God bless you.